Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have something really lovely in store for us, filled with delicious antique clothes. I wanted to actually examine two 1920s dresses that I have in my personal collection with you all. Both of them are fairly simple in their construction, but one dress is actually a little bit more complicated compared to another one. It's also, one of these pieces is my first baby. It's my first antique dress, so I'm really excited about that. Before we get into it, I want to take a moment to say thank you to June's Journey for sponsoring this video. I really appreciate it. And if you are not familiar with June's Journey, I highly recommend that you check them out. There will be a link in the description below. June's Journey is an online video game that you can download for free on your phone or play on your computer via Amazon or Facebook. And it's a murder mystery problem solving object game that follows a woman around named June Parker as she just solves crimes and mysteries and goes on adventures. I really like the game. I have been playing it now for probably about a week or two. I like all the material culture that they put into the game. I think it would have been really easy for the developers to just kind of go partially in on the concept of what was material culture in the 1920s. What did people buy in the 1920s? What did they wear? What objects did they use? And what did they look like? And so as a dress historian and someone who studied material culture as part of her degree, I really appreciate that attention to detail. And I find the game really fun. I'm not a big video game person, I'll be perfectly honest with you. Like, that's not my bag. But I have actually really enjoyed the game for its relaxing qualities to it. Like, I like doing it when I'm in bed at night, like before I go to sleep, just kind of play a couple levels and just kind of learning as I go, and the nice storyline that goes with it too. So I'm always interested to see what happens next. If you're interested in playing the game, I highly recommend it. And again, you can find the link in the description below. Thanks again to June's. It's time to look at some dresses. Let's have at it. All right, so the first dress that we're actually going to look at is one that my mom found when she was at the Urbana flea market in Ohio. It is this gorgeous, just so light and airy and springy and beautiful 1920s dress that I've actually never really taken a lot of time to look at. So it's kind of like doing an unboxing. It's just unboxing out of my own closet. It's all white, made out of mostly net. And so the skirt has two flounces, and the outside flounces have been tamboured, with what looks like possibly supposed to be like a rose motif or just like a generic flower with vines and crawling up, and it's just beautiful. There's also some tambour embroidery at the cuffs and a little bit of edge work around the collar. And there's also a rose flower in the center of the bodice. Now, I've never looked at this too closely, like I said, but if I was a betting woman, I would bet that flower that's just kind of slapped in there in the middle was actually a mend, because it is not actually put into the fabric itself. It was cut in and then appliqued in. It's not actually even done that nicely, if I was to be really honest with you. And it looks a little cockeyed at the moment. So there's that. And there's a couple other holes in this just because the net's a little bit fragile and delicate. But yeah, I would wager that someone probably wore this and then she ripped a hole in it and then she cut a flower. I wonder if I can find the flower. The dress is very simple outwardly in its construction and appearance. However, it doesn't actually seem to be that simple when you get inside of it. It looks deceptively simple, if I was to be really honest with you. Let's start digging, shall we? So the skirt of the dress is 3 layers of net. There's no lining in this, so if you didn't want people seeing your fanny, you needed to wear a slip or an underdress underneath of it. It's hand sewn at the hem, just with big running stitches. Look at that knot. Look at you. Oh, I gathered it up. Okay, so looking at... Wow, girl. Dang. Okay, so this isn't really that even. The net's a little raggedy from what I can tell on the inside, but it looks like what it was done is they did spaced back stitches from the inside when they were hemming it. And so the outside, what would have actually been visible well, to me, like, it's not turned inside out now, so like someone just walking around, is you would actually see the underside of what appears to be back stitches. So it looks like it was possibly done with spaced back stitches with some tucks to help shape the hem. The seams are... I have no idea how these seams are done. Oh, okay. I see what happened. No, that's not... That took a while. So it seems like the skirt seams were done in a French seam fashion. The reason I had a hard time with this is because some of this, the way they are pressed and how these raw edges are looking, it looks like it was almost like a pseudo mantua maker seam, but at least one seam is done with a French seam, and then the other ones at least appear to be pseudo French seams. So we're just gonna go with French seams because that's just easier. The more I look at this, the more I keep finding holes in it, so it makes me feel better, and they've been like badly mended. I'm like, oh, you poor thing, you got this dress and you probably were just like, I'm gonna go to a garden picnic, it's gonna be amazing. I keep ripping holes in my dress. Poor thing. You poor dear, that's painful. That's super painful. So the way that they hid the join for the skirt and the bodice is pretty neat. The bodice is a layer of net, and then it's lined in a very fine china silk. It's a plain woven, and then that's brought down. The bottom of the bodice part at the waist, if you will, is then folded up, and that has been stitched, so it's basically creating a pin tuck. And then underneath of that, the skirt, all 3 layers of the tulle have been brought up as one. So there's 3 layers of tulle at the waist from the skirt, folded over, and then they were stitched to the seam allowance that was left over from the bodice. And so what this means is that then the folded over like pin tuck hides the messy stitching of the connection between the bodice and the skirt. So that's really, really cool. So what that means is that both of these things were made up separately, and then they were brought together at the waist when the dress was finished. One of the things that I really want to explore more with this dress, because I find it fascinating, is how you get into this thing. There is no side seam in this. There's no back opening. There's nothing. It's meant to go over the head, but up at the left shoulder, there are some snaps that open up to show space, and then also down around the left arm's eye there are snaps again. It opens up at the top of the shoulder and then around the front of the armpit here. And this is, I guess, supposed to give you enough room to get the dress over your head and then get your arms through the arms holes and like through the shoulders and things like that. It definitely would not work for me and my broad shoulders, but if this was to fit you, then that's how you would do it. I would never ever try this because I would destroy it. Woof. No. What's also really cool about this dress that I really like is that the sleeves are unlined. So the sleeves are just a sheer net. The top of the dress is the silk and the net. It is connected at the collar, at the waist, and at the side seams. But around the arm's eyes, it's actually not connected. So the sleeves are just a single layer of net. They are unlined, they're super sheer. And I guess the way they decided to do this to kind of help prevent pressure is that the sleeves have been attached to the net and the silk. The sleeve is connected at the arm point with the bodice, but then the rest of it's actually just been sewn to the silk. And the net around the arm's eye has been left free and has just been hemmed and finished. Same thing goes for the silk. It's just been hemmed and finished, and so they're just disconnected. So this makes for a really interesting sleeve finish and application, seeing how this worked. I think it's a really curious way that they did it, including the fact that it's also the closure point and the, not entry point, but like how you get this thing to actually fit onto you point of the dress. So that's really cool. I think whoever made this probably hated themselves. They either hated themselves for thinking this was a good idea, or they hated themselves for being forced to make it. I can't actually tell if this is homemade or manufactured. It's really hard, man. Get going in this. You're like, yeah, like this thing and that thing, and this is gonna be awesome. And then you're like, card is full. And now I don't remember what I was talking about. Editing me can just deal with those problems when I'm editing this. It appears like there's been some alterations done to either fix or make a bit smaller the body of the dress. The stitching on this is actually, and this is like no judgy here, okay? Like I am not judging this at all, but you can see that they rode the struggle bus when they were working on this dress. And that makes sense. It's very fussy fabric. It's very delicate. It's very fine. And the net and everything, it's just like, this is not a basic beginner level dress. Like, this requires a great deal of patience and fortitude and probably a lot of booze as well, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, to get to get through this mess. You know, there's no darts, there's nothing like that on the inside. It's just kind of cut in that rectangular shape. Every time I think I figure out how this thing was made, then I see something else that makes me question myself. Okay. I think I know what was done. So the collar was not bound, but one layer of the bias tape, and it was stitched on. And then the net and the silk of the neckline was then folded over, and then the bias tape for the collar was applied. The seam allowance for the bias tape was folded up underneath the folded over edge of the neckline and then stitched down so it completely encased the raw edge. That is the only way my brain is making sense of this construction at the moment. That's the first dress. Fairly basic in its construction, but it's still very, very pretty. I love the tiered net skirt. I think that would be gorgeous to be reproduced. Just get some nice English bobbinette and just go to town. Oh yeah. So I was in Louisville, and it was sometime in college, right at that point in time in my life where I was getting really, really, really into dress history. Full, focused, balls to the wall. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to study, and I am all about this dress history life. My mom and I were going antiquing, and we were at just a local antique mall in Louisville, and we were walking around. I remember looking up at this display that was kind of in the middle of a walkway, and here was this dress on a mannequin. I just was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so cool. Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that before. I want it so badly. This one I paid a pretty penny for. It was, it's fuchsia velvet and completely covered in beaded circles. So it's so unique. It just feels so fashion forward and edgy for the 1920s. A lot of what you see originals are the white, the net gowns, or the organdy gowns, or maybe you see some pink chiffon-y things. So to see something that's very a bit garish is just really fun, I think, because it reminds you that they were, well, some people didn't have taste. No. I love this dress. I would totally have worn this dress. It's wild. Pile of the velvet is wearing away in some places, but you can see in some that how bright the pink actually was. It's really lovely. All right, let's have a look at the baby. The dress is velvet, and then the beads are in filled circles and just outlines of circles in silver and gold beads. It's pretty simple in its construction, much more simple than the net dress that we were looking at earlier. This is a sleeveless dress. It has deep side cutouts that go basically all the way to the waist. Since it's a drop waist, it goes all the way to the hips. It has a scooped out neckline. The beading was done with a certain level of consciousness over how the dress was going to be constructed. The neckline and the side cutouts are actually beaded 6 rows of silver and gold beads on either side. It's just very, very purposeful. It opens up at the side. It's unlined. It's just the velvet itself, and so you can see the stitching for the beads through it. Construction is really basic. It's so basic. What they've done is at the sides of the dress, they've cut slashes, then they've gathered it up and stitched it back into the waist to make it just a little bit smaller. Actually, I've never noticed this before, but this work around the hips is actually mostly hand sewn. So when they cut the slash here to bring this in and gather it up, I would wager the way they did this, obviously everything was cut a much bigger, and then it was just gathered in to fit, and then the whatever was left around the waist was probably just cut off. I'm not 100% sure on that. I've never reproduced it, but that's how at least my brain would process it. But then they also have some piping here to help create definition at the waist, and you can see a bit of the piping coming out of the edge. They didn't even bother bother to like close that off there at the end. There is actually a second side of this folded over, so you can kind of get a good idea of how wide this must have been. Pretty beefy right there. That's about 3 inches or so, 4 inches. Damn, I'm good. 3 inches. So it's about a 3-inch overlap here on the side where the snaps are to kind of create a hidden placket and to help give you more privacy, so it's not hanging open at the side and you're showing all your goods to everybody. It's a very, very simple construction, like super, super simple. Maybe this is even the concept of the dress in an hour, you know, idea. And the edges just around the neckline and the side seams at the opening, those are just folded over and hem stitched close. It has a couple snaps and hooks and eyes to secure the dress into place, so that way it doesn't fly open, but it's a very minimal closure, minimal construction dress. So going into the inside of the dress, oh my gosh, this dress is 100% hand sewn and I didn't even realize it. I'm an idiot. Yeah, this dress is 100% hand sewn. Holy crap, I didn't even realize that. Okay, yeah, no, someone made this by hand. So it is just, they are spaced back stitches, very small, as the side seam of the skirts, and then the raw edge has just been overcast and whipped close as the finish. So it's not French seamed, it's not felled, it's just like, oh, there's a little knot. Hey, you. I love finding knots in sewing projects, but it's just overcast to keep it into place. So very, very simple construction. The hem, it's a pretty deep hem, and it's just folded over. That's about a 1/2 inch, probably 1/2 inch, 5/8 of an inch folded over, but then it's deep to give it some weight. There's no hem weights or anything at the bottom, just the weight of the beading, and the velvet itself is what holds the skirt down to give it a good drape. Yep, shoulder seams are also hand stitched. For the one side seam, they just kind of cut it off and left some of the circles just in there, so you know that they left some scrap of this fabric to make it fit the body. I assume it was probably maybe a semi-shaped panel if the beading was done beforehand, and then they just adapted it to fit their person. Now, what is interesting is on the side, so this would be the right side again, closure on the left. It goes down just as deep as the right side does, but they have tacked it shut up a little bit. It's not going to be gaping open at the waist. And so we have 2-ish tacking points in the same thread that they used the construction in, so it wasn't a later alteration, to just hold that section closed, so that way it's a little bit more coverage up the side. The bead's still there, like they didn't change the beading. The hook and bar area, the hook and eye area, it was reinforced with some plain like peachy silk satin that's now just completely shattered with some pretty beefy seam allowances. Not nicely stitched in either. There's some really big stitches in here just to kind of as another way to protect and reinforce that one area. Well, that was really fast. Sorry guys, I thought this would take longer. Silly me. This dress might have only actually taken an hour to make. There you have it, 2 of the 1920s dresses I have in my collection. I really hope that you all enjoyed looking at them with me and examining them. Let me know in the comments below if there's any one that you want to see more details of, and also which dress was actually your favorite, because they are very, very different. Even just laying them out here looking at them, they're very different in their appearance and their aesthetic. So I want to know which one you liked the best. And if you all like hanging out with me on Sundays and want to keep hanging out, don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you, and I will see you all next time. Bye. All right, full formatted card. Where the hell was I? I don't remember. And they wanted, frankly, I mean, now, are you serious? What is up with today? You literally already came around, my guy. Go away. Be gone, wee beastie. Oy. Anywho, just deal with those problems when I'm editing this. So it appears like there's been some alterations done to either. Me mom just trying to get it so y'all can hear her. Oh, sweet jingle jangles.